session with a lecture by Dr. Israr Ahmed on the topic of the methodology of establishing the just Islamic social order. So I'll pass it on to Dr. Saab and we start with the session.
Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah nahmaduhu wa nasta'inuhu wa nastaghfiruhu wa nu'minu bihi wa natawakkalu alayhi. Wa na'udhu billahi min shururi anfusina wa min sayyiati a'malina. Man yahdihillahu fala mudilla lahu wa man yudlilhu fala hadiya lahu. Wa nashhadu an la ilaha illa Allah wahdahu la sharika lahu. ونشهد أن سيدنا ومولانا محمدا عبده ورسوله. أما بعد فقد قال الله تبارك وتعالى كما ورد في سورة الصف: أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. هو الذي أرسل رسوله بالهدى ودين الحق ليظهره على الدين كله ولو كره المشركون. يا أيها الذين آمنوا هل أدلكم على تجارة تنجيكم من عذاب أليم تؤمنون بالله ورسوله وتجاهدون في سبيل الله بأموالكم وأنفسكم ذالکم خیر لکم ان کنتم تعلمون. وقال عز وجل كما ورد في نفس السورة: ان اللہ يحب الذین يقاتلون في سبیلہ صفا كأنهم بنیان مرصوص. صدق اللہ العظیم. وعن الحارث الاشعری رضی اللہ تعالی عنہ قال قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم: إني آمركم بخمس الله أمرني بهن: بالجماعة والسمع والطاعة والهجرة والجهاد في سبيل الله. رواه الإمام أحمد والإمام الترمذي رحمهم الله. وكان أصحاب الرسول صلى الله عليه وسلم ينشدون في غزوة الأحزاب: نحن الذين بايعوا محمدا على الجهاد ما بقينا ابدا. رواه الامام البخاري رحمه الله. وعن عبادة بن صامت رضي الله تعالى عنه قال: بايعنا رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم على السمع والطاعة في العسر واليسر والمنشة والمكره وعلى عسرة علينا وعلى أن لا ننازع الأمر أهله وعلى أن نقول بالحق أينما كنا لا نخاف في الله لومة لائم. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. اللهم ربنا ألهمنا رشدنا وأعذنا من شرور أنفسنا. اللهم أرنا الحق حقا وارزقنا اتباعه وأرنا الباطل باطلا وارزقنا اجتنابه. اللهم وفقنا أن نجاهد في سبيلك بأموالنا وأنفسنا. اللهم ارزقنا شهادة في سبيلك. آمين يا رب العالمين. Dear brothers and sisters and sons and daughters in Islam, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. As you know, this is the third and last lecture of the series of 3 lectures. In the first lecture that I delivered the evening before yesterday, I discussed the importance of social justice in Islam. And then briefly I referred to the foundations or bases or fundamentals of the justice at the social level and justice at the political level. Then yesterday, last evening, my talk was on the system of economic justice in Islam. And you know, this was a full lecture. And because this is the most important issue of our times, economics, economy, so we have to deal this subject a little bit in more detail. You must be remembering that I finished my talk last evening with a quotation from Allama Iqbal. Khajas khune rage mazdoor sazad lal naab az jafaye deh khudaya kishte dehkana kharab inqilab inqilab inqilab. A call to revolution. And the basis why revolution is required. Because the capitalist is distilling his wine, his liquor which he drinks in the evenings from the blood of the laborers. And you know the tyranny and injustice of the landlords, the feudals and the absentee landlords. They have destroyed the conditions, made to deplorable conditions for the farmers, the tillers of the land. Now these conditions require, call for a revolution. Today I want to begin with another set of two couplets of Allama Iqbal, in which he very beautifully, in very brief words, he has summarized what is revolution and how it is brought about. In some special moment in which he had some very close, intimate relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he had a dialogue with Allah. And he is telling us about his dialogue. Guftand, Allah said to me, Guftand, Jahane ma aya batumi saadat. O Iqbal, the world to which we have sent you, do you like it? Are you comfortable with it? Guftand Jahane ma, our world, aya beto be sazad, sazgar. Are you comfortable with it? Guftam ke nami sazad. I said no. I don't like it. It is not based on justice, fair play. It's based on repression, suppression, oppression, then exploitation, and so on and so forth. Guftam ke nami sadat, guftam ke barhamzan. Then Allah said to me, okay, then shatter it, break it off. This is revolution. When one feels that the system under which I am living is not based on justice, it's unjust, it has to be changed. And for changing, first you have to do away with the existing system. If this building is not to your requirements, not fulfilling your requirements, you have first to pull it down and then you can build a building of your own choice. As you know, Guft Rumi, har binaye kohna ka abada kunand, tu namidani, ki awwal a ta'mir ra veeran kunand. Rumi said, all the old and decayed buildings, you know, don't you know, when you want to, that there should be rehabilitation over here, first of all you have to do the takhreeb, veeran kunand, destroy it, pull it down, and then you build a new structure. So the first couplet, Guftand Jahane ma aya batumi sazad, Guftam ke tami sazad, Guftand ke barham zan. But how to do is barham. It's not a piece of glass that you throw and it breaks. It's a system. The politico-socio-economic system. It's, you know, the government or the state machinery is backing the system, supporting it. There are very great and mighty powers who want status quo. They don't want any change. Because if there is any change, the structure of vested interests will be disturbed. With every system, there are privileged classes. There are certain sections of the society who have special privileges. If you touch the system, they feel that their interests are being threatened. So they have to defend. Nizam-e Kohla ke pasbano ye marad-e inqilab mein hai. Oh, the defenders of the old system, come and gird up your loins and defend your interests. Come. because it is being threatened. So it has to be done in the face of all the obstructions, all the resistance that is put in the way. That is why in this ayah in Quran, هو الذي أرسل رسوله بالهدى ودين الحق ليظهره على الدين كله. This is the positive statement. What for Muhammad was sent? What was the basic purpose of the advent of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam? To make the deen a haq, deenullah, and that is the only just political socio-economic order. To make it supreme over all system of life. And then the words are وَلَوْ كَرِهَ الْمُشْرِكُونَ. Although the mushriks, they are bound to resist. They will never like that you change this system. Hence you have to do it in the face of ala rahum, despite all the opposition, all the resistance, all the challenges that you have to meet, you have to do it. So how to do it? Now Iqbal in another couplet along with this, in 2 sentences he has summed up the whole process. Ba nashya darweshi darsaz wa damadam zan. First phase of revolutionary process is that you adopt the Darweshi style of life. You know, the Buddhist monks or the Jaini monks, you know, they are very, humble type of people, not arrogant, but they are very ascetic type of people. They have run away, and they have given up all the luxuries, all the pleasures of life. So this is Darweshi. First of all, you have to adopt this Darweshi. Ba nashya Darweshi darsaz. You have to reconcile with it. Damadam zan. Go on doing, go on continuing your struggle. First phase. But the hallmark of this first stage is Darweshi. And this Darweshi period ends where chu pukhta shavi. When you feel you are mature enough, you are strong enough to risk a challenge, a direct confrontation with the system, you are strong enough, then jo pukhta shavi khudra bar saltanate jam zan. Now the collision, now the tasadum, now throw yourself on that system, challenge it, and this conflict is the essence and the crux, you may say, of the matter of this process of revolution. So do 2 stages. Again, listen, and enjoy and appreciate the beauty, literary beauty also. And along with that literary beauty, how briefly he has summed up such a long, discussion. Guftand jahane ma aya batumi sazat, guftam ke nami sazat, guftand ke barham zan. Ba nashya darweshi darsaz wa damadam zan. Jo pukhta shavi khudra bar saltanate jam zan. Now I have to proceed with some details of these 2 phases of the revolutionary process. But I do feel, like my 2 previous lectures, that for most of those who are present here, because they are already associated with Tanzim Islami, they are Rufaqa, or they have long association, if they have not already joined Tanzim, they know Tanzim and my thought and my message. So for them, all these things may appear to be repetition. But because on every such occasion, there are certain new people also. And I know some of the brothers have traveled long distances and joined us here, and they have not up till now understood the methodology which we are presenting. So actually I'll be addressing those new brothers. Either they have come from abroad here, from New York and so on and so forth, or from here, local population, who have not understood up till now my message, this methodology of revolution. So I am as if I am addressing only them. But for the rest, the brothers, the Rufaqa of Tanzim Islami, it's the reminding. Kalla innaha tazkira. And reminding is also very essential. They can just, peep in their hearts and brains whether they have all this subject matter in their minds with the logical sequence in which this thing comes, then only you will be able to present it to the others. So try to tally what you already have with what I am saying. And then if there is something new, well, that is a bonus. Otherwise, at least you will be revising your lesson. Now, first of all, what do we mean by a revolution? In Urdu, inqilab, this is a word which can be attached to any word. Ruhani inqilab, mazhabi inqilab, akhlaqi inqilab, thaqafati inqilab, fauji inqilab. But this is not the case with the English language. Revolution means revolution. And what is revolution? When there is some fundamental and essential change in at least one aspect of the politico-socio-economic system, then we call it a revolution. As I told you before in some of my lectures, I remember during this very series, that today we know that human life is divisible into two parts. One is the collective aspect of the life, the politico-socio-economic system. The other is the religious, the personal, dogma, modes of worship, some social rituals. Well, these three go to make mazhab, but these three things go to make the political socio-economic system, and join them all, it becomes deen. Now, if there is a change in the first three, in the dogma, or in the modes of worship, or in some social customs or rituals, you don't call it a revolution. The word revolution is applicable only when there is some fundamental, real fundamental, essential change in either the political life of that society, social values of that society, the economic system of that society. At least in one of these fundamental, basic, essential change is necessary to qualify for this term of revolution. Now, giving you the example, French Revolution was a revolution. Political structure changed. Bolshevik Revolution was a revolution. The economic system changed. But what happened in 300 AD when Emperor Constantine, Roman emperor, he embraced Christianity, converted to Christianity. And the whole, Roman Empire became converted to Christianity. It was a very profound change. But you might never have heard of anything like Roman Revolution. It was not revolution. The political socio-economic system remained the same. The same monarchy, the same feudalism, all the things are the same. Only dogma has changed and nothing else. Because Christianity, after Paul, Saint Paul, it was devoid of any law, any system. It's only a dogma and nothing else. Some mysticism, very vague type of, some philosophical type of mysticism and a dogma. These two things go to make Christianity. No modes of worship even. Nothing halal or haram. Nothing farz, nothing haram, nothing forbidden. So actually, this conversion of the Roman Empire to Christianity is never referred to as a revolution. But French Revolution qualifies for this term revolution. Bolshevik Revolution does qualify. But now, this is an undebatable fact, accepted by all. And by all I mean by all who mean. People like Dr. Michael Hart, people like M.N. Roy, people like H.G. Wells, people like Gandhi, people like Tolstoy, and so on and so forth. They have accepted that the most profound revolution, total revolution, and number two, a revolution which was brought about in one lifespan. The only example is the revolution of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Three things are very peculiar to this revolution. Number one, total revolution. Everything changed. The dogma changed. The modes of worship changed. Their manners changed. Social life changed. Economic practices changed. Political structure changed. Everything changed. But I used to say some days when I was used to be delivering, now it's a matter of the past, the speeches on Seerah of the Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, that here you will have to, try to find what remained as it was. Nothing remained as it was before this revolution. Everything changed. So most profound and total revolution. Number two, a revolution completed in 20 years. One lifespan. Lifespan might be 60, 70 years, but the actual active part of life, human life, is 20, 30 years. In 20 years, the revolution was accomplished. Number three, a single human being leading the whole process of revolution from day one to the final completion of the revolution. The same person, as I said yesterday in the Jummah sermon, the same person who was preaching in the streets of Makkah, he was seen leading armies in Badr and Uhud. And this is something, the example you cannot have in the whole of humanity. The preacher, Jesus was preaching in the streets of Jerusalem and, in the cities, Galilee, and on the, lake of Galilee and in Nazareth. But he was never leading any army. The only person. And he was Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So now, what does it mean? What I infer from it? If somebody likes to know what is the real revolutionary process, what is the mechanics of revolution, the only source is the Seerah of Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Otherwise, I have said in the Jummah sermon, Voltaire and Rousseau gave a thought, but they had no role in the leadership of the revolution. It was brought about by street urchins, so to say. It was the most bloody revolution. Bolshevik revolution, thought was given by Marx and Engels. But the revolution was accomplished in Russia, under the Bolsheviks and the Mensheviks, and finally under the leadership of Lenin, an active personality. But here from day one, as I said, when Muhammad was all alone, he started his mission. On the first day, he begged for the wife, the very close friend, the cousin, who is under his own protection, and the freed slave whom he had adopted as son. So 1 + 4, they were 5. And even after 10 years hardest labor, he didn't have more than 125 people around him. This revolution, the fourth peculiar thing which is necessary to note is that everything was done on the ground, at the human level, struggle at human level. There's no role of miracles whatsoever. The only miracle is Quran, and that's all. All the other, all the stages, all the steps had to be accomplished by sheer hard work, sacrifice, and facing everything. इस राह में जो सब पे गुजरती है सो गुजरी, तन्हा पस जिंदा कभी रुसवा सरे बाजार. कड़के हैं बहुत शेख बरसरे गोशे मिंबर, और गरजे हैं बहुत अहले हुक्म बरसरे दरबार. Whatever happens to any revolutionary group happened to Muhammad and his companions. Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam wa radiyallahu ta'ala anhu ajma'in. So now, the only source of knowing a true revolutionary process is the Seerah of Muhammad. And I have, alhamdulillah, as you know, Hafiz Jalandhari said, किया पाबंदे नए नाले को मैंने, ये तर्ज़े खास है ईजाद मेरी. There is some contribution that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave me the capability of making, and that is, I have analyzed the Seerah of the Prophet step by step. This you may call the philosophy of the Seerah of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The events are there, but what is between the lines, between the events? What's the background? How the things are progressing? What is this next step and why? And when is the next step to be taken? All these things which we may call this philosophy of Sirah, and that becomes the process of revolution. And I have derived 6 steps. And I want to describe these 6 steps, and this is the crux of the whole discussion. Later on, we shall only apply things to the Sirah of the Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, to events, relate the things with events. But in the beginning, I want to use abstract terms, not religious terms, not the terminology of Quran and Sunnah, no. Because this terminology, the essence and connotation of these words has changed a lot. Due to a long process of downfall and decay, the words remain the same, meanings have changed. So whenever we use those words, these meanings which are prevalent today, they come to our mind. We can't look beyond these connotations and go to the real crux and essence of the matter. Now, 6 steps. First, for any revolution, there should be a revolutionary ideology. This is the starting point. What is ideology? Number 1, it must have a holistic view of the reality of existence. What is this universe? Who are we? What is our relationship? Then, and this metaphysical view, the holistic view of reality, is metaphysics. Based on these metaphysical principles, now the structure, the edifice of the politico-socio-economic system. This goes to make the revolutionary ideology. Now the litmus test of whether an ideology is really revolutionary or not is to see whether this ideology cuts at the roots of the existing system or not. If it is not cutting at the roots of the existing political socio-economic system, well, it's not a revolutionary ideology, it's a sermon. It's a vase. A revolutionary ideology must cut at the roots of the existing political socio-economic system. And 2 things are necessary for this. Number 1, either it should be new, well, it's a new ideology, just as Marxism. When it came before the people, it was a new ideology. It had a metaphysical view also, an analysis of history also, historical process. What are the forces that work in the human society? All the things. And based on that, a solution. So, either it is new, then it is a simpler case, easier job. But if it is old, it must be reinterpreted in the idiom of the time, at the level of the consciousness of the age. If you don't reinterpret it, it's a dogma. An old ideology becomes dogma. But if you reinterpret it in the current idiom and at the level of consciousness, level of understanding of that time, then it becomes a new ideology. An old ideology reinterpreted. And here please note the title of the lectures of Allama Iqbal. How meaningful. Reconstruction of religious thought in Islam. Why? In order that Islam might become the basis of a revolution. Its basic thought has to be reconstituted, reconstructed in the modern terminology, modern idiom, and at the philosophical level of discussion that is prevalent at this time. Unless you can do it, well, it is dogma. And dogma cannot bring about a revolution. So number 1, this should be an ideology. Either it is new, it is a simpler affair. But if it is old, it has to be reinterpreted. And let me note here, Some people say that don't think that Marxism is dead. It will be revived. And I also think that if no alternate solution to the problems of humanity are offered, and if this capitalistic system continues, its reaction will again come. What was Marxism and what was communism? It was a reaction against the capitalistic society. Well, if this remains so, again reaction will come. But if Marxism is again to become the basis of a revolution anywhere, it will need a reinterpretation because 1 century has elapsed. So you have to reinterpret Marxism even. If you want that on the basis of this ideology, a fresh change in the political socio-economic system be brought about, then it will have to be reinterpreted. So now, first of all, an ideology, it should be truly revolutionary, and its propagation. For propagation, all the means available must be used. Whatever is available. The means that are now available in the world, if we don't use, well, it's our shortcoming. We are to blame. We have to use them, all of them. Number 2, now those who accept this ideology at its face value and consciously, 2 conditions. Those who accept this ideology at its face value and consciously, now you have to organize them. This is the second step, organization. But here also, some attributes, some qualities of this organization, because there can be other types of organization, a social organization, a political organization, a religious organization, but for an organization to be a really revolutionary organization, number 1, it must be new. It should not reflect the cadres of the existing system. For example, in India, the social system that is there prevalent, well, Brahman is higher up, Shudra is lower down. Now, if this thing continues in Communist Party also, if the Brahman is higher up and the Shudra is lower down, in Communist Party also, then Communist Party is not a revolutionary party. Here the position of the person will be determined by his depth of commitment, by the amount of sacrifice that he has accepted and put in, the labor that he has put in. That would determine his cadre. Not the previous social. He might have been from the downtrodden classes of the society, and now he might become the leader. And number 2, this revolutionary party cannot be a loose grouping of people. It has to be a very integrated, organized, and disciplined party. No, the words that are used, proverbial words, the army discipline. Listen and obey, listen and obey, listen and obey. No argument. You can't demand in army, in military. A junior cannot ask his senior, why, on what basis are you deciding this and giving me this order? There's not reason why. No. It's not their right. They can't ask the reason behind some command. Theirs but to do and die. Do whatever you are commanded to do, even if it means death. So that listen and obey type of organization is essential for revolution, because there's going to be a conflict. There's going to be an opposition. The system will protect itself. Nizam-e Kohla ke paas mano, ye marad-e-inqilab mein hai. Gird up your loins, protect your interests. So that will actually be, a war is going to take place. So you must have the discipline of an army. Number 3, training of the cadres. You have to train them. Kham hai jab tak tu hai, mitti ka ek ambar tu. पुख्ता हो जाए तो है शमशीर बेज़िन्हार तू. And this word Iqbal used in that Persian couplet also. Chu pukhta shavi khudra bar saltanat jamzan. But how to become pukhta? How to become mature, hardened, mature? There are three things, three constituents of a revolutionary training which are essential for any revolutionary struggle, any. And an additional fourth one, if the system that you want to establish, your goal, your ideal, if it has some spiritual dimensions, then a fourth dimension has to be added during the period of training also. What are the three essential for any struggle, revolutionary struggle? Some system of training by dint of which you keep the ideology, revolutionary ideology, fresh in the minds of the workers. It should not fade away. It should not be rusted. It should not be forgotten. Keep on reminding and reminding and reminding and reminding, so that the ideology remains fresh in the minds. Rather, it should permeate the cells of the nervous system. This ideology should permeate it. For this, you have to, some methods, some steps are to be taken. Number two, there should be some exercise so that people become accustomed to listening and obeying. It's very tough on your ego. Why should I obey him? He is also a human being. I am also a human being. He has 2 hands, 2 arms, 2 legs. The same I have, I possess. Maybe I think I am a bigger intellectual than him. He has been put at the command. Okay, the leader has put him on the command, but I feel I am superior to him. Why should I obey him? So it needs a lot of exercise. Mashq. Tapasya ki zarorat. Riyazat. To reconcile that I have to listen and obey. There's a very beautiful representation of this in Urdu poetry. हम भी तस्लीम की खू डालेंगे बेनियाजी तेरी आदत ही सही. This खू डालना, it becomes a habit with you. Listening and obeying, it becomes a habit with you. That is essential. Number 3, making them agreeable, rather desirous of sacrificing everything for the cause of the revolution. If this is not there, revolution cannot be brought about. You might be required to sacrifice your lives, your belongings, everything. And unless those who want to bring about a revolution are ready to sacrifice everything, including their lives, revolution cannot be brought about. So these 3, they are essential for any revolutionary struggle, for communist struggle, for any other struggle. Number 1, keeping the ideology fresh in the minds at the conscious level. Rather, it should permeate all the cells of the central nervous system. Number 2, people should become accustomed to listening and obeying. They should reconcile to this position. Number 3, they should be ready, not only ready, desirous that we are ready to sacrifice anything for the cause of this revolution. Number 4, for an Islamic revolution, because Islam has a spiritual element in itself. If you want to establish Islam, well, you will have to provide for this aspect during the training process of the revolutionary process. So these 4 principles, we shall see how the Prophet did it. That is the latest form. Up till now, I have not used any Islamic or Quranic term, but generalized terms, abstract terms, so that the real logic you understand. This is mechanics, cold logic and simple mechanics. Now the fourth, but this is fourth only in counting. It starts from the very beginning. What is it? When the revolutionary people are ridiculed, mocked upon, laughed at, or they are tortured and persecuted, they have to take it for some time without any retaliation. Because if the revolutionaries become, in the very beginning, they become violent, they will be crushed like anything. They are only a few people. In no time, they will be nowhere. So they have to buy time. And the only way of buying time is, you take everything that is coming to you, abuse is coming to you, you might be stoned, you might be hurt, verbal persecution, physical persecution, take it. Absorb it without any retaliation. This is, in the modern terminology, passive resistance. It is resistance. You are not going back. You are not relinquishing your ideology. You are not giving up your struggle. You are saying this is true. And now one thing is very essential to understand. This conflict which has started in the society, who initiated the conflict? The revolutionaries, they started. Everything was okay, people had taken, they had accepted this is the fate. Well, we are slaves, this is our fate. They are our masters, this is their fate. They had accepted it. There was no visible conflict. Everything was at peace. You came and said this is wrong, this is exploitation, this is oppression. You said so. So you have thrown the water, the pebble in the pond of water. Now the waves which have started, you created the waves. Now you continue doing it. But the persecution that is coming to you, you take it, absorb it, without any retaliation. And it must be noted that first of all, this reaction from the society, this retaliation from the society, comes against the leader only, and it is verbal only. They want to kill the will of the leader. If he gives up the struggle, well, everything is okay. There's no need of tackling any other person. But when they feel that neither the leader has abandoned his mission, nor the followers, they are diminishing, they are increasing, then, a general persecution starts. I will give the detail. When, filling the colors in this, this is the blueprint. I have to fill the colors, here, from the seerah, from the events that actually happened during the life of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Now, what's the use and the benefit of this passive resistance? One thing I have already noted, buying time. You need time, you have to buy time. Number two, in this society, the great majority of the people are what we call the silent majority. They are not committed, neither this way nor that way. They see what is wrong. They are not blind. They are not deaf. And they are seeing what is happening to these revolutionaries. They are being tortured. They are being killed. They are being shot. They are being hanged. Why? The only crime is that they say this system is wrong and we want to establish justice. Now this silent majority is not deaf, is not blind. It is only silent. It doesn't have the courage to stand up and say this is wrong. The courage is lacking, but they see and they hear. The net result is that the sympathies of the silent majority, they go in favor of the revolutionaries. They are not retaliating even. So much torture being given to them, meted out to them, and they are not giving any reply. So the sympathies. And we know, जो दिलों को फतह कर ले, वही फातिह ज़माना. If the hearts of this silent majority are won by you, by the revolutionaries, when the real conflict will come, the forces opposing you will be very weak. Because from within their own personalities, they have already been defeated. They know that these people are on the right path and we are on the wrong path. They come to fight due to their leaders. But you know, the heart to fight, the determination to fight is not there. Now when the leadership of that revolutionary group feels that now we are ready, now we can confront this system, we can challenge this system, we can risk a showdown with the system, they will touch the system from any one side. किसी दुखती रग को छेड़ा जाए. Because the political socio-economic system behaves as an organic whole. Just as the Prophet said, Al-Muslimun kajasadin wahidin. The Muslims are like one body. If there is some pain in the arm, the whole body feels the pain. Not that arm, let the arm suffer, I will go to sleep. You can't go to sleep. So in the same way, this political socio-economic system, this is an organic whole. Whichever aspect you challenge, it will retaliate with full force. So to challenge this system in any way, it can differ from society to society, from time to time, how to challenge the system. This is the active resistance. Now you are taking a step forward, challenging the system. The result would be that takraw, that tasadum, that conflict. And it has been armed conflict throughout history, except from very recent time. I will discuss it later. But armed conflict, kill each other. But if all these steps, they were passed with full maturity, fulfilling the rights of every step, and you have come rightly, latarkabunna tabaqan tabaq, step by step, and you are prepared, then the result of this confrontation will be ja al-haqq wa zahaqa al-batil, inna al-batila kana zahiqa. But if some premature step was taken, you were not mature enough, you were not strong enough, you were not disciplined enough, you have taken the step prematurely, then you will be annihilated, finished. After this, sixth step, what we call in Urdu, ya takht ya takhta, no third alternative. Either you are on the throne or you are on the gallows. Ya takht ya takhta. This is the final step. Now to these 6 steps add one more. And that is exporting this revolution. This is again a litmus test of a true revolution. A true revolution cannot remain confined to any national boundaries, any geographical boundaries. If it is confined, it is not true revolution. It's a litmus test. The communist revolution started in Russia, reached Latin America. How? Communist Party even today in India. You have it. The French Revolution throughout the world. So this is the litmus test. Revolution of Muhammad accomplished in the Arabian Peninsula and then to the right and to the left, to the east and to the west, and also to some extent to the north. It spread like anything. So that is the exporting of This term was used after the Iranian Revolution, tasdirul inqilab, to export the revolution. They tried it, but failed. They targeted Pakistan, but failed. It was easier for Iranian Revolution to be exported to Iraq, but here also they failed due to a political mistake of the leadership. But that's a separate issue. That's not the issue of this evening. Now in this blueprint, now we have to add the colors from the seerah of the Prophet ﷺ in the Quranic and Islamic tradition and the terminology. First of all, what is the ideology? In one word, it is Iman. Iman has, number one, the metaphysical aspect. What is this universe? Who are you? What's your life? Is the life only this worldly life? Or is there going to be some continuity of existence after death? All the questions which are discussed in philosophy, metaphysics. What is knowledge? Epistemology. What is this human personality? Psychology. You know, all these things, metaphysics. So this is Iman. But to be more exact, the revolutionary ideology is only one, and that is Tawheed. Iqbal said so in a very beautiful way. Zinda quwwat thi zamane mein ye Tawheed kabhi thi kabhi. It's not now. Zinda quwwat thi zamane mein ye Tawheed kabhi. और अब क्या है? फकत एक मसला है इल्म कलाम. That's all. But this principle of Tawheed, let me enumerate 3 corollaries that hit at the 3 roots of the politico-socio-economic system. One corollary, corollary number 1, sovereignty for Allah only. For human beings, vice regency, not sovereignty. It is cutting here. The whole political thought, from the very basis. Number 2, real owner of everything in this universe is Allah. Nobody owns anything. All you have is a sacred trust. You are custodians. Just as you are not sovereign, you are vicegerents. In the same way, you are not owners. You are custodians. This is the basis of the economic system. Number 3, He is the creator of all. So all human beings by birth are absolutely equal. Social discriminations cut off. No Brahman, no Shudra, no Sayyid, and no Musalli in Pakistan. So all these distinctions, baseless. So these 3 corollaries. This is actually basis of the revolutionary ideology of the revolution of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Now this was propagated, but here one thing must be noted, through Quran. Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam didn't say it's my philosophy, it's my thought. No. It's the divine guidance that has come to me. And the mode or the medium of his tabligh was the word of God, not his own word. We find very few sermons of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, very few. Even in the khutbah of Friday, he used to recite Quran. Kana sallallahu alaihi wasallam yaqra al-Quran wa yudhakkiru an-nas. That's all. Arabic is the language, and asdil khezat bardil rezat, whatever is coming out of the tongue of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is going directly into the hearts of the audience. So through Quran, ideology of Tawheed propagated, and this was done by all those methods which were available. Street preaching, yes. calling people to dinner and then addressing them? Yes. He did it twice. Standing up on a raised platform, addressing a public meeting? Yes, he did it. The first, public appearance, when the command of Allah came, فَاسْدَعْ بِمَا تُؤْمَرْ. Now say it loudly, whatever has been commanded to you. He ascended that hillock of Safa. And then he cried out, Wa Sabaha! That was the custom of this society. Whenever a news reached some person in Makkah or in any tribe that some other tribe is preparing to attack you during the night, now an alarm should be there so that people are ready. So what they used to do? A person should ascend some high place, take off his all dress, Uryan, Nazir Uryan, the naked warner, and then he will cry out, Wa Sabaha! Woe to the morning that is coming. Very fateful morning is coming. Then the people rush to him to listen from him what news has reached him. But here we find, the best example. The Prophet only, he couldn't be naked. Something cut out. But the rest of the thing, accepted. He ascended the hillock of Safa and the same cry, Wa Sabaha, he raised. People gathered and then he addressed. So these are the modes. The modes of publicizing your dawah and the medium of publicizing your dawah. The medium is Quran. Tazkir bil Quran, Tabshir bil Quran, Inzar bil Quran, Tabligh of Quran. Ya ayyuhar Rasul, balligh ma unzila ilayka min rabbik. Fa in lam taf'al fa ma ballaghta risalata. Tabligh is of Quran. And Tabshir with Quran. فَإِنَّمَا يَسَّرْنَاهُ بِلِسَانَكَ لِتُبَشِّرَ بِهِ الْمُتَّقِينَ وَتُنذِرَ بِهِ قَوْمًا لُدًّا. Inzar through Quran, Tabshir through Quran, Tazkir through Quran, فَذَكِّرْ بِالْقُرْآنِ مَنْ يَخَافُ وَعِيدُ. The beginning of the process of da'wah, يَتْلُو عَلَيْهِمْ آيَاتِهِ. 4 times, يَتْلُو عَلَيْهِمْ آيَاتِهِ. Ayat of Quran, they were the medium of da'wah. The modes I have enumerated. Whatever was available at that time, there was no videos, audios, there were no journals, nothing of the sort, no radio, no television. But whatever was available, that was used, and that has to be continued. Whatever is available to you, you must use it. If you are not using it, you are to blame. Why not use it? So that was the first step of the process of revolution of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Number 2, organization. To start with, the basis of organization was the faith that Muhammad is the Prophet of Allah. Sallallahu alayhi wasallam. What does it mean? If I have accepted him as Prophet and Messenger of Allah, what does it mean? I have accepted that he has a special source of knowledge and guidance which all the humanity, rest of humanity, doesn't have. Why? This is the special source of knowledge. When I accept Muhammad as Prophet of Allah, I accept that he has a special source of knowledge and guidance, which I don't have. And what does it imply? I have to obey him. This obedience is the natural, logical result of belief in the prophethood of and messengerhood of any person. That was very beautifully said by Hazrat Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam to his father. Ya abati inni qad ja'ani min al-ilmi ma lam yatik. Fattabi'ni ahdika siratan samiyya. Oh my dear father, a knowledge has come to me which has not come to you. So you will have to follow me. I will lead you to the right path. I used to say, the Ganga is ulti beh rahi hai. ये बाप कहेगा कि मेरा तजर्बा ज्यादा, ये मैंने बाल जो है ये धूप में सफेद नहीं किए हैं, तुम कल के छोकरे मेरे सामने मेरे हाथों पले बढ़े, and you are demanding that I should follow you. But the reason he has given already. Ya abati inni qad ja'ani min al-ilmi ma lam ya'tik fattabi'ni ahdika siratan. That is why Quran makes it very, very, very clear in so many words and at so many places in the Quran, especially in Surah An-Nisa. وَمَا أَرْسَلْنَا مِن رَسُولٍ إِلَّا لِيُطَاعَ بِإِذْنِ اللَّهِ وَمَن يُطِعِ الرَّسُولَ فَقَدْ أَطَاعَ اللَّهَ. Whosoever obeys our messenger, he obeys us. So this was the basis. Listen and obey. That was the essence of organization, revolutionary organization, and that was primarily based on the acceptance of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam as the prophet and messenger of Allah. But later on, the prophet added one other mode and one other covenant to this basis of organization, and that is called Bay'ah. Bay'ah, what is Bay'ah? It's a covenant. It's a sort of agreement, mu'ahdah, that I shall obey you. And the Prophet got this assurance, this bay'ah, from his companions through bay'ah. And my humble submission is, he didn't need to take that bay'ah whatsoever. He was the Prophet of Allah. He had to be obeyed anyhow. You know, even the munafiqeen, they broke their bay'ah also. So munafiqeen, if they didn't obey Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam as Prophet, it was also understandable. But what could bay'ah do to them? They could break the bay'ah also. But you know why Prophet took bay'ah? My submission is that to leave a model for the times to come. لَقَدْ كَانَ لَكُمْ فِي رَسُولِ اللَّهِ أُسْوَةٌ حَسَنَةٌ. Had this not happened in the time of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that he took the bay'ah, what would have been before us the model? After him there was no Nabi to come, no Rasul to come. The institution of prophethood was coming to an end in his personal person. So this bay'ah, institution of bay'ah, he initiated it. And that is why I quoted 3 ahadith in the beginning. One is from Harisul Ashari radiyallahu anhu. He says, the Prophet said, قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم إني آمركم بخمس, O Muslims, O believers, I command you 5 things. Declare it obligatory upon you. Allahu amarani bihinna. Don't think I'm doing it on my own. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has commanded me to do this. What are those 5 things? Bil jama'ati, was sam'i, was ta'ati, wal hijrati, wal jihad fi sabilillah. These 5 things which went out of the minds of even the learned people of Islam, the ulama. Why? These 5 things relate to the revolutionary process. And the revolutionary process is to establish the system of political socio-economic justice. When the concept of Islam shrunk from the deen to a mazhab, this concept of establishing the political socio-economic justice has gone out of mind. And out of mind, out of sight. Once about this very hadith, I asked a question to a teacher of hadith in Lahore. He is living up till now. I said, I want, the reference. From which book of hadith is there, this hadith? He listened and then pondered and then said, the words are very unfamiliar. Alfaz bahut namanus hai, unfamiliar. While the wordings are there in Mishkat, and Mishkat is the primer of hadith. The real, this teaching of hadith is with the Sahih Sitta. But Mishkat, that is the primer, beginning of the education of hadith, that's from Mishkat. And it is there in Mishkat. Inni amurukum bi khamsin Allahu amarani bihinna bil jama'ati was sam'i was ta'ati wal hijrati wal jihad fi sabilillah. They must have been reading it. but out of sight, out of mind. This was not clicking to them because it didn't seem to be relevant. Well, those 5 things are very relevant. Buni al-Islamu ala khamsin. Shahadati Allah ilaha illallah wa anna Muhammad Rasulullah. Wa iqam as-salati wa ita'i zakati wa sawmi Ramadan wa hajj al-bayt. These 5 pillars of Islam, they are relevant. But these 5 things, they have become irrelevant because the concept of Islam as a deen has faded away. Now Islam exists as a mazhab. And there is no need of this jama'ah and hijrat and jihad for a mazhab. No need. At the most, you need some tabligh, some missionary type of activity. That's all. No revolutionary struggle is required for a mazhab. So these 3 hadiths. And now, I also quoted, when the Sahaba Kiram, Rizwanullahi ta'ala alayhim ajma'in, they were digging the trench in the Battle of Trenches, Ghazwatul Ahzab, they were chanting a couplet with one voice. It was severely cold weather. And they were hungry for many times, many days, feeling weakness. They had tied stones with their bellies. And in that condition, the command came, go ahead. This mashwara, this advice of Salman Farsi radiyallahu ta'ala anhu seems to be correct. That is the requirement of the time. Go and dig the trench. Now they are digging. And they are, chanting. نَحْنُ الَّذِينَ بَايَعُوا مُحَمَّدًا عَلَى الْجِهَادِ مَا بَقِينَا أَبَدًا. We are those who have pledged ourselves to Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam for jihad. And this jihad now will continue till our death. And the last hadith that I quoted, the bay'ah that Prophet took sallallahu alayhi wa sallam for this organizational purpose, to make an organization. Because organization, is always a branching phenomenon. One Amir on the top, then, so many local chapters, and local chapters might be divisible into sections and so on and so forth. An army, there is a commander-in-chief, but there are commanders on the Maimana and Masra, the right wing, the left wing, in the heart, so forth, so on and so forth. So there is to be a branching system. So for this, the Prophet took this bay'ah. Ubadah ibn Samit radiyallahu ta'ala anhu says, and this is muttafaqun alayh hadith in Bukhari and Muslim both. Bayana Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. We pledged ourselves, we gave our bay'ah to the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Ala sam'i wa ta'ati. We shall listen to whatever you say and obey to whatever you command. Fil usri wal yusri. In difficult times also, and also when it is easy. Wal manshati wal makrahi. Also when we feel like doing something, and also if we don't feel like doing something and we have to compel ourselves to do it, we shall do it. Wa ala asaratin alayna. And despite you prefer others to us, we shall never say that we are your old associates, your old servants, your old companions. How come you have appointed a newcomer as the Amir? How come? No. We wash our hands off this claim. It will be exclusively your prerogative. To whomsoever you like, you appoint. And we shall obey them also. وَعَلَىٰ لَا نُنَازِلْ أَمْرَ أَهْلَهُ. We shall not quarrel with those whom you put at the head of the command. We shall cooperate with them, we shall obey them. وَعَلَىٰ أَن نَقُولَ بِالْحَقِّ عِنْدَمَا كُنَّا. But wherever we shall be, we shall say our honest opinion, say it out. We shall not withhold our opinions, fearing that people will, laugh at us. No. لَا نَخَافُ فِي اللَّهِ لَوْمَةَ لَائِمٍ. We shall not fear of any, reproaching from any reproacher. We shall say out what is the right opinion with us. So these are the basic things about which the Prophet took bay'ah. And that was the basis of tanzeem. That was the basis of organization. Tarbiyah, third training. Number 1, Read Quran, read Quran, read Quran. Especially when you are all alone at night. Hammer it down, hammer it down, hammer it down. قم الليل إلا قليلا نصفه أو انقص منه قليلا أو زد عليه ورتل القرآن ترتيلا. When these ayat of Quran were revealed, how much of Quran had been revealed up till that time? And to remain awake for 2/3 of the whole night with this small part of Quran. What does it mean? Repeat it, repeat it, repeat it. Hammer it, hammer it, hammer it. Quran, read Quran. And even in Salah, in prayer, Quran is the essential part. The Quran, the basis of Quran, Surah Fatiha, in every rak'ah. You have to repeat it. Renew your covenant with Allah. Iyaka na'budu wa iyaka nasta'in. In every rak'ah, you are renewing the covenant with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this is actually to keep the ideology fresh in your mind. To keep your iman living, vibrating, pulsating iman, living iman. And for that, aqimi salata li zikri. اتل ما اوحي اليك من كتاب ربك لا مبدل لكلماته ولن تجد من دونه ملتحدا. Read and read and read Quran. Number 2, I think the biggest exercise of sam'u ta'ah which was going on throughout the Meccan period was to abide by the command of the Prophet. Take all persecution without any retaliation. Somebody has done something to you and you are powerful enough to reply in the same coin. But no, I am not allowed. If you can restrain yourself, this is the practice, biggest practice. You know what happened to Khabbab bin al-Arat radiyallahu anhu? He was called. Before his eyes, the live cinders burning, they were spread on the ground. Then the command was given to him, remove your shirt. He removed. And he's seeing what is happening, what is going to happen with him. They are going to roast him alive. Lie down. Lay on the cinders. The skin of the back burnt. And the fat, that also. And due to this, those cinders were cooled down. Now a person, when he sees that they are going to kill me, they are going to roast me alive, if he is allowed, and in this desperate condition, he will die after at least killing 2 or 3. But no, keep your hands folded. Kuffu aydiyakum. These words in Quran appear in Surah An-Nisa. That there was a time when this was the command, but these words we don't find in the Makki surahs. It was the command from Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, not from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala directly, for the Sahaba Ikram. Although it might have been inspired by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Wahiy Khafi, but it was not there in Wahiy Jali. It was the command of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam to his companions. Take all persecution without any retaliation. No raising of hands even in self-defense. No. And to act upon this needed the biggest power for listening and obeying. And that was going on. And now, in order that the revolutionaries should resolve to sacrifice everything, what is the basis of this for a Muslim revolutionary? Here comes Iman bil Akhirah. When I think this life is not the real life, this is just the preamble to the book of life. The real book of life will open after death. وَإِنَّ دَارَ الْآخِرَةَ لَهِيَ الْحَيَوَانُ لَوْ كَانُوا يَعْلَمُونَ. The life of the hereafter is the real life, only if they had known it. If somebody believes in it, is convinced of it, will it remain difficult for him to give everything? He's not giving it away. He's saving it for the hereafter. He's depositing whatever he's giving for the cause of Allah. He's depositing it in the royal, universal bank of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَمَا تُنْفِقُوا مِنْ شَيْءٍ تَجِدُوهُ عِنْدَ اللَّهِ هُوَ خَيْرًا وَأَعْظَمَ أَجْرًا. Whatsoever you spend for this cause, you will find it with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It will be better in shape. It would have grown in size. And then additional ajr will also be given to you. If he has real belief in akhirah, it's absolutely easy. I'm not giving anything. I am only preserving it. A goat was sacrificed in the house of Hazrat Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha. All the meat that was distributed, you know, the Ashab Sufa were present at the very door. Only, one shoulder. That was preserved because this meat of shoulder was very liked by the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Now when the Prophet came, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, we asked Hazrat Aisha Ummul Mu'mineen, Ma baqiya minha. What remains of that goat? The reply was, Ma baqiya minha illa katifuha. Nothing is remaining except one shoulder. And he says, Baqiya kulluha illa katifuha. The total goat has been saved, which has been given for the sake of Allah. It is saving. Except this shoulder which we shall consume. This is consumption. This is use. This is gone. And the rest of the goat has been preserved. Eternal preservation. This iman bil akhirah is the basis. If you lay down your life, is it the end of your life? Oh no. If you are killed, if you are martyred, you go directly. Without the intervening, stages of that balance and all that will happen with them. You go direct to paradise. This is the easiest way to success. The easiest way. The easiest way. The shortest way to success. You know what is depicted there in Surah Yasin? When two messengers were sent to some locality, and the people of that locality refused to accept them. Then a third came, and when this argument was going on between the people and the three messengers, one person came running. وَجَاءَ بِالْأَقْصَى الْمَدِينَةِ رَجُلٌ يَسْعَى. And he said, oh people, why don't you accept what they are saying? And in the end he said, okay, listen, at least I believe in what he says, what they are saying. He was instantaneously killed. قِيلَ ادْخُلِ الْجَنَّةِ. Instantaneously the command of Allah came, now enter Jannah. قَالَ يَا لَيْتَ قَوْمِي يَعْلَمُونَ بِمَا غَفَرَ لِي رَبِّي وَجَعَلَنِي مِنَ الْمُكْرَمِينَ. And he said, only if my people could know how much honor my Lord has bestowed upon me, what I have been given here. My wife might be weeping, my children might be crying. Her father has been killed. Only if they could know what I have got over here. It's not for them to be sorry and grieved. So actually, if you believe in the life hereafter, it becomes easy. No sacrifice is hard. All becomes very easy, very simple, very logical. You stand to lose nothing. You are preserving it. So this is the basis of spending in the way of Allah and giving every sacrifice of which there might be any need. As regards the fourth and spiritual dimension, keep psalm to control your id or libido, your baser self. Contain it within limits. Have control over it. Tahajjud during the night. keep awake. All these exercises which have been given, you know, you are doing something against the wishes of your id or libido. This is to develop the spirit within you. This is the spiritual dimension of the training of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Now what happened? These 4 steps were going on and on and on for 12 years. Ba nashay darweshi dar sazo damadam zan. What was that nashay darweshi? Preaching, propagating, then giving bayah, then you know, reading Quran, keeping awake at the night, then taking all persecution, whether verbal or physical, without any retaliation. This is Darweshi. Keep on, keep on, keep on. Badashay Darweshi dar sazu damadam san. Chun pukhta shavi khudra bar saltanate jam san. This phase of the revolutionary struggle of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam came after Hijrah. Now there was a sizable number with him. Especially the Muhajirin had passed through rigorous training, rigorous training. The furnaces, you know, they had passed through the furnaces of sacrifices. Tu khak mein mil aur aag mein jal, jab khisht bane tab kaam chale. In kham dilon ke unsar par bunyad na rakh, tabeer na kar. They were hardened, fully trained people, tried people. And then there was quite a large number of Ansar of Medina. And Allah gave Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam a base to launch his offensive. He needed a base. In search of the alternate base, he went to Taif. But you know, divine decree was something else. This was destined for Yasrib to become the Madinatul Nabi. So he had to come empty-handed back from Taif. And what was the condition? He had to enter Mecca by taking the refuge and aman of a mushrik. That was the condition in the 10th year after the beginning of the mission of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But now the things are changing fastly. Now after Hijrah, he took only 6 months. Accomplished 3 very great things during 6 months. As I mentioned, if you read Montgomery Watt in his book Muhammad at Medina, he uses all the words of praise for Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. His statesmanship, his understanding of the situation, his foresight, all these things. And there he accomplished 3 things. Number 1, he built Masjid al-Nabawi, a center. Center for worship, center for training, center for education, center for purification of souls, the Darul Nadwa, Majlis Shura, everything is this. Number 2, Muakhat bain al-Muhajirin wal Ansar. One from the Ansar, one from Muhajirs, made brothers. And the whole human history cannot produce an example of this brotherhood. No example. An Ansari Sahabi takes his Muhajir brother to his house. Says, I have 2 wives. You choose. Whichever you choose, I will divorce and you marry her. I can't bear that I might have 2 wives. And my brother, whom Muhammad has declared to be my brother, he should have no wife. Because you know the commandments about hijab, etc. had not been revealed up in that time. They came in Surah Al-Nisa and Surah Al-Ahzab after the 5th and 6th years after Hijrah. Before that, there was no hijab in Arabia. They divided their houses. A wall is erected in between. Half is yours, half is mine. Divided their shops. This integration of the Muslim society. And third and most profound, most important, the treaty, the Misaq of Medina with the 3 tribes, Jewish tribes of Medina. Tied them in that covenant. And then he started his active resistance. This is very important. What he did, as I told you, you can do anything. Just challenge the system from any angle. It will react, retaliate with full force. The prophets started sending small groups, small expeditions. There are 8 expeditions on record before Ghazwa Badr. In the 7th month after Hijrah, he started sending these groups. Only 6 months he took for the consolidation of his position in Medina. And then he started his offensive. And what was it? Small groups going and threatening the caravans, because it was the lifeline of the Quraysh. لإلاف قريش إلافهم رحلة الشتاء والصيف فليعبدوا رب هذا البيت. Their caravans could not be looted. Nobody could attack them. Why? These were the caravans of the Quraysh, and the Quraysh were the custodians of Kaaba. And in Kaaba were the idols of all the tribes of this Arabia. So to say, Quraysh had the hostages. Their gods, their gods were hostages with Quraysh. How could they attack the caravan of Quraysh? That is why they got the monopoly of East-West trade. All the merchandise from India and Ceylon and, East Indies and China that came to the coast of Yemen. All the merchandise from Europe came to the coast of Palestine. And in between the two, there was no Suez Canal. In between these 2 points, the caravans of Quraysh were going to and fro, north and south. During the winter, they used to go south. During summers, they used to go north. لِإِلَافِ قُرَيْشٍ إِلَافِهِمْ رِحْلَةَ الشِّتَاءِ وَالصَّيْفِ. Now Muhammad threatened, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. This is what we can call in the modern terminology, economic blockade of Mecca. You know what happened? What was the beginning of the 1967 war? Blockade of Aqaba. Jamal Abdul Nasir blocked the port of Aqaba. And that became the starting point for the 1967 Six Days War. Now, Muhammad had blocked this lifeline, blockade of Makkah, economic blockade. Secondly, in the 4th of these 8 expeditions, the Prophet himself went. So these are Ghazawat, 4 Saraya, before Badr. Wherever he went, either he concluded a treaty of friendship with the local tribe of that area. That tribe was either Halif of Quraysh before or neutral, but now it has become Halif of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Or previously it was Halif of Quraysh, now it has become neutral. In both ways, what happened? The zone of political influence of the Quraysh was diminishing, and the zone of the political influence of Muhammad was on the increase. Anna natil arda nanqusuha min atrafiha. These words appear twice in Quran. And most of the Mufassirin have found it very difficult to interpret them. This is the interpretation. That round Makkah, as if this circle, Muhammad was encircling Makkah, and the circle was becoming every day smaller and smaller, narrower and narrower. Anna natil arda. Al-ard here means arda haram. Natil arda nanqusuha min atrafiha. From all the sides diminishing. The zone of influence, political influence of Quraysh diminishing, and the zone of the political influence of Muhammad increasing. These 2 factors led to the full retaliation from Quraysh. 1,000-man strong army with 1,000 camels went out of Makkah. And this is the beginning of the 6th and the final phase of the revolutionary struggle of Muhammad. On the 17th day of Ramadanul Mubarak in the second year after Hijrah, Ghazwatul Badr. Next year, Ghazwatul Ahzab. Oz. After 2 years, Ahzab. Then a treaty, Hudaybiyah. A small pause. Then the conquest of Khaybar. Then the conquest of Makkah on the 10th day of Ramadanul Mubarak in the 8th year after Hijrah. Makkah was taken. جاء الحق وزهق الباطل إن الباطل كان زهوقا. And in Surah Tawbah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has called these Quraysh Aimmat al-Kufr. They are the leaders of Kufr. فَقَاتِلُوا أَئِمَّةَ الْكُفْرِ. Oh Muslims, don't hesitate. Go ahead and fight against these leaders of Kufr. That was the persuasion, because there were many people among the Muslims in Medina who didn't want to invade Makkah. For many reasons, various reasons, but I don't want to go into detail. But that was the completion. In the next year, I call it in the modern terminology, the mopping up operation. The fall of Makkah, fall from their point of view, was a symbol of the completion of the revolution. But there were, resistance pockets here and there. So mopping up operation during the 9th year. During the 8th year, the Prophet himself didn't go for Hajj. The 9th year also he didn't go, but a party was sent under the emirate leadership of Hazrat Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu. But by the 10th year, everything had been accomplished. Jal haqq wa zahaq al-batil. And that year he performed his last Hajj. But as I told you, the 7th step, it's very noteworthy. When Muhammad started the process of exporting of revolution, at what time, at what point in his struggle? It was after Sulh Hudaybiyah. And there you can understand why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has termed Sulh Hudaybiyah, the Treaty of Hudaybiyah, as the victory, clear victory. Inna fatahna laka fatham mubina. Because Quraysh now had to accept and reconcile that Muhammad is a power to reckon with. Because entering into a treaty with Muhammad, what did it mean? They have recognized Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Just as you know, 2 years back, the Arabs were not ready to recognize Israel. They were not ready to sit on one table. They were not ready to be in one room, in one conference room. If the Israeli entered one gate, the Arab delegate would leave the room from the other gate. But now, after the Gulf War, they had to recognize. This is the biggest victory for Israel. And the victory for Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was when Quraysh acknowledged Muhammad, that he is the power to reckon with, entered into a treaty with him. And Allah says, Inna fatahna laka fatham mubina. It was after this date that now Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam sent his emissaries, messengers, with letters to Heraclius, to the Persian emperor, to the Makaukas of Egypt, to the Nagus of Abyssinia, and to the Amir of Bahrain, and so on and so forth. And due to the assassination of the emissary of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam by a subsidiary of the Roman Empire, there was Ghazwa Tabuk, Ghazwa Mauta, and then Ghazwa Tabuk. And that was the beginning. The foundation for the extension and exporting the revolution of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam were laid down. The process was started by himself in his lifetime, which was carried on later on by his khulafa, the caliphs, the pious caliphs. So this is the process of the revolution of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Now, what of today? First of all, let me quote the saying of Imam Malik, Imam Dar al-Hijrah, Imam Malik ibn Anas radiyallahu anhu, rahmatullahi alayhi. لن يصلح آخر هذه الأمة إلا بما صلح به أولها. The last part of this ummah will not be able to be reformed except on the pattern, on the methodology with which the first part was reformed. And there is a hadith in which the Prophet has given 5 periods of time, starting from his own period till the end of this world. The days of the prophethood himself, then Khilafah ala minhaj al-nubuwah, the Khilafat Rashida, then Mulukiya, Mulkan Azan, cruel kings, then the kingship, imperialism with slavery, Mulkan Jabriyan. We from the Indian subcontinent, we became subject of Queen Victoria of England, and so on and so forth. But after that, again Khilafah ala minhaj al-nubuwah. That is the end of this ummah. And there is a hadith of the Prophet ﷺ. He said, the likeliness of my ummah is very close to the likeliness of rain. We can't say whether the early showers of the rain are more beneficial or the last showers of the rain. In the same way, it would be difficult to decide whether the first part of my ummah was better or the last part. In this last part, this Khilafah ala minhaj al-nubuwah is to become global. This global village will convert to global Khilafah. Now it is one piece. The whole world is one piece. So to converting it, if all the human beings of the world become one man, how easy it will become to make all the human beings Muslim. You convert one, and it means the conversion of the whole of humanity. Same is the case. Now when there will be one world order, only a conversion of that world order will become global Khilafah. And that was going to come. But the methodology will be the same, which was adopted for the first part. And actually, this saying is derived from a saying of Hazrat Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu. When he nominated Hazrat Umar as his successor, he delivered a sermon, and in that sermon he said, Inna hazal amr, O Muslims, remember, this matter of ours, that is Khilafah, Inna hazal amr, la yasluhu akhiruhu illa bima salaha bihi awwalahu. The last part of this will not be able to be reformed and reconstructed except on the pattern and methodology with which the first part was reconstructed. So we have to adopt this idea, this methodology. Total adoption. Dawah for Iman through Quran. Organization of people who accept Iman consciously, who renew their Iman. One Iman we have. Due to the accident of birth, we are Muslims, we are Mu'mins. Why? Because we were born of Muslim parents. But one Iman we have to get it ourselves. That Iman on the face value, which reaches the level of conviction. And this process will be through Quran. Then organizing those people through the institution of Bay'ah. Why deviate? Take it as it was. Training the same 4 principles. Then keep on. Ba nashai darveshi, dar sadhu dabatam. Keep on doing it. Keep on doing it. Keep on broadening your base. Keep on broadening your base. Consolidating your strength. And when you feel you are strong enough to challenge the system, you can do anything. Just as Gandhi, what did he do? To challenge the British Empire. What did he do? We are going to the sea to make salt out of the sea water. The sea belongs to Paramatma, and Paramatma has produced salt in it. But we are not doing any harm to anybody. We are going to make salt from the sea water. But what it amounted to? It amounted to the challenging of the taxation policy of the British India. The British government had to retaliate. There was lathi charge and everything, and people were thrown in prisons. Their top leaders, they were injured. All these things. So anything can be done. But then, about the last phase, we have to make ijtihad. Now, first of all, I must say, where ijtihad is needed, ijtihad is not a toy to play with. Ijtihad, where the conditions are different, an absolutely new situation is confronting you, which was not there at the time of the Prophet ﷺ. So now in this condition you have to make ijtihad, keeping in view the instructions of Quran and Sunnah, deduce and arrive at an opinion through qiyas that this thing can be accepted. Now regarding this final phase, the final phase in the life of Muhammad ﷺ was armed conflict. A two-sided war depicted very beautifully in ayah number 111 of Surah At-Tawbah. إِنَّ اللَّهَ اشْتَرَى مِنَ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ أَنفُسَهُمْ وَأَمْوَالَهُمْ بِأَنَّ لَهُمُ الْجَنَّةَ يُقَاتِلُونَ فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ فَيَقْتُلُونَ وَيُقْتَلُونَ. They are killing their enemies and they are being killed also. 70 of the kuffar were killed at Badr. 70 of Sahaba were martyred at Uhud. There was no guarantee from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that, oh Muslims, no harm will come to you. You go to fight for me, but you will not be injured. You will not have to lose your life. No. Even Hamza, radiyallahu ta'ala, Asadullah wa Asadu Rasulihi, he was martyred. So that was two-sided war. But there are three essential fundamental differences which have happened because during these 1400 years, lot of water has flowed down the river of time. Many changes have occurred. Number one, at the time of Muhammad, it was a clear-cut affair. Muslims on one side, kuffar on the other. Today we have Muslims opposing Islam in all the Muslim countries. Legally they are Muslims. A fundamental change. Secondly, there was no organized government in the Arabian Peninsula at the time of the Prophet. Had he been sent in the Persian Empire or Roman Empire, things would have been very different. In Arabian Peninsula, there was no government. There was a sort of government in Mecca, Darul Nadwa. It was a city of one tribe. It had a system. Therefore, the conditions at Mecca were very difficult for Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Then the conditions at Medina. Here there were 5 tribes. They were fighting each other. They were looking for someone who could be a mediator between them. There was a lot of difference between Mecca and Medina. But we are discussing about the difference that we have today. We have organized governments. Number 3, there were no standing armies at that time. There were volunteers from this side, volunteers from that side. Volunteers from the side of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, volunteer with Abu Jahl. Only difference was in number, 1,000 against 330. Again, the weapons were the same. The difference was only in number. The same swords, the same spears, the same. Horse, 1 against 100, okay. But horse is horse, not a tank. Now these conditions have drastically changed. We have organized governments. And the governments represent the politico-socio-economic interests. If the system is capitalistic, the capitalists are sitting in the government. And at their command is the army, the police, the paramilitary forces, the air force, everything. If it is basically a feudal society, the feudal lords are sitting in the government. and all the force of the state is at their command. They can use it. We used air force in Pakistan, in Balochistan twice. Hafizul Asad devastated Hama by air force, crushed the power base of Al-Ikhwan al-Muslimun in no time, air strike. So here something has to be thought over, some ijtihad. Now these things are, so to say, on the negative side. On the positive side also, a development has happened. Now the political thought has reached that level that we make a differentiation between the state and the government. The citizens are loyal to the state, not to the government. And it is at least theoretically accepted that it's the right of the citizens to make or break the government. This condition was not present over that time. Now we keep all these things in front of you. One way is elections. Go to elections. It seems very simple. You call people to vote for you in the name of religion, Islam. If you are voted into power, now you establish Islamic law, Islamic instructions. Amr bil ma'ruf nahi anil munkar. Allazina in makkannahum fil ardi aqamu salata wa atamu zakata wa amaru bil ma'ruf wa nahaw anil munkar. Very simple. But this experience of about 50 years has proved. We had understood it in the very beginning. Myself, let me speak for myself. I separated my ways from Jamaat Islami on this basis, that participation in elections will not take us anywhere. It's exercise in futility. No good is going to come out of it. But because Maulana Maududi was adamant till that time, and he hoped that through elections we can have success. So there was the parting of ways. But now 50 years have shown two factors are there. Even through elections in Algiers, people reached near the power seat of power. But then the external hand came and stopped it. The same history was repeated in Turkey recently. In Pakistan, we never reached, near the power also. Never. Why? The conditions there were very bad. In Algiers, why the election could be successful? Because after independence, there was socialism in Algiers. There were no feudals. In Pakistan, we have feudals. And the 70% population of Pakistan is under the thumb of the feudals. They can't vote against the wish of their feudal lords. The feudal have their own prison houses. They are, so to say, small states within states. So number one, and number two, we have sectarianism. When Jamaat Islami came into the field, asking for vote in the name of Islam, well, the Deobandi ulama came, why not we? Aao na hum bhi sair kare Kohe Tur ki. ये क्या जरूर सबको मिले एक सा जवाब, आओ ना हम भी सैर करें कोहे तूर. Then the JUP, why shouldn't we go ahead? We represent the Sawad-e-Azam. Why not Jamiyat Ahle-Hadith? They have also pockets. So now 4 parties were asking for votes in the name of Islam, with the inevitable result that each one had to say, or at least it was implied, that our Islam is genuine, and the rest of 4 Islams, they are false Islams. And that has added to the bitterness of sectarianism in Pakistan. Anyhow, one thing must be very clear. These elections, they are the product of modern political science. And according to this political science, elections are held to run the system, not to change the system. The Republicans and the Democrats here, they agree on the basic structure, the politico-socio-economic structure of American society. There's no basic difference. Minor differences regarding foreign policy, maybe regarding health policy, for example, and that's all. So they go to the voters and they decide. Same way conservatives and the Labour Party in United Kingdom, they don't disagree on the basic structure, the political socio-economic system. So this is correct. But where you want to change the basic structure of the society, the political socio-economic structure, this is absolutely futile. And the elections will surely reflect the political socio-economic system which is there. If it is feudalism, feudals will come up. If it is capitalism, capitalists will come up. And they will retain their system. They will want status quo, no change. So that is ruled out. The only alternate way is agitation. Pressure group, agitation. And this is constitutional. Till such time that you don't disturb the peace, don't destroy the property or life of anybody, you are allowed to demonstrate, to agitate, go ahead. This is the constitutional right. Now, the next step would be Ghirao, picketing. Here let me quote the ahadith, two ahadith. For nahi anil munkar, to forbid from whatever is wrong and munkar and haram. There are three levels of nahi anil munkar. The hadith from Abu Sa'id al-Khudri radiyallahu ta'ala an. Sami'tu Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam yaqul, he says, I myself listened and heard the Messenger of Allah saying, Man ra'a minkum munkaran falyughayyirhu biyadihi fa illam yastati' fa bilisanihi fa illam yastati' fa biqalbihi wa dhalika adhaful iman. Whosoever amongst you, O Muslims, sees something munkar, something wrong, false, batil, haram, it is his duty to change it with force. But if he doesn't have that force, that might, then with tongue. And if he doesn't have that courage, maybe there is threat to life even on opening your tongue. Then at least, from your heart, you must feel so sorry. Why this thing is happening? ذَلِكَ أَضْعَفُ الْإِيمَانِ, and this is the weakest level of Iman. And a more clear hadith is on the same subject from Abdullah ibn Mas'ud radiyallahu ta'ala. And both these hadiths are from Muslim, Sahih Muslim. Abdullah ibn Mas'ud radiyallahu anhu says that the Prophet said, Ma ba'asallahu min nabiyyin fi ummatihi qabli illa kana lahu hawariyuna wa ashabun ya'khuduna bi sunnatihi wa yaqtaduna bi amrihi. Before me, to whomsoever nation Allah sent a prophet, there were from amongst the people some companions, some helpers for the prophets. Hawariyin, the Hazrat Masih, Sahaba with the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And what did these companions and Hawariyin do? Ya'khuzuna bi sunnatihi. They used to stick to the sunnah of the Prophet. Wa yaqtaduna bi amrihi, and following the command of the Prophet. Summa innaha takhlufu min ba'dihi khulufun. But after this, always, after some time, people came up, a few generations afterwards, na khalaf log, who were not true to these principles. What was their condition? يَقُولُونَ مَا لَا يَفْعَلُونَ وَيَفْعَلُونَ مَا لَا يُؤْمَرُونَ. They said what they didn't do. Very tall claims of love of Allah and love of Muhammad and so on and so forth. But looking to their actions and attitude in life, there's a world of difference, a big gap. وَيَفْعَلُونَ مَا لَا يُؤْمَرُونَ, doing what was not ordained to them. Celebrating Eid Milad al-Nabi. The Prophet didn't say that you must celebrate the day of my birth. Did he say? No. Did the companions celebrate? No. يَقُولُونَ مَا لَا يَفْعَلُونَ, number one. وَيَفْعَلُونَ مَا لَا يُؤْمَرُونَ, and doing what was not commanded to them. Now, whosoever is born in such conditions, فَمَنْ جَاهَدَهُمْ بِيَدِهِ, whosoever makes jihad against them with his hand, he is a mu'min. Huwa mu'minun. وَمَنْ جَاهَدَهُمْ, here the word jihad has come. مَنْ جَاهَدَهُمْ بِلِسَانِهِ فَهُوَ مُؤْمِنٌ وَمَنْ جَاهَدَهُم بِقَلْبِهِ فَهُوَ مُؤْمِنٌ وَلَيْسَ وَرَاءَ ذَلِكَ مِنَ الْإِيمَانِ حَبَّةُ خَرْدَلٍ. After that there is not even a small particle of iman left. If you are seeing munkarat and you don't feel even sorry for that, there's no iman whatsoever. So now, keeping this, forbidding the evil, till such time that we don't have the requisite number of people, and we are not mature and strong enough to challenge the system, we shall go on doing وَلْتَكُنْ مِنْكُمْ أُمَّةٌ يَدْعُونَ إِلَى الْخَيْرِ وَيَأْمُرُونَ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ وَيَنْهَوْنَ عَنِ الْمُنْكَرِ بِاللِّسَانِ. Only with lisan. دعوت إلى الخير, أمر بالمعروف, نهي عن المنكر باللسان. But when we feel that we are strong enough, then we shall do it with hand. Bilyad. We shall say, now we will not let this thing happen. We shall do picketing, jirao, but not jarao, no burning, but encircling. Nobody allowed to enter the banks, nobody allowed to leave the banks. These places of riba, we won't let them work now. Now, kill us, shoot us, charge with your batons, or you just take us to the prisons, okay? Whatever comes to us. Shahadat hai matloob maqsood mu'min na mali ghanimat wa rishwat bashar. This is the only way, because even during this process, the powers that are sitting over there in the government, they will use the army, the police, for lathi charge and for shooting and everything. But because there is no such activity from the people, it is going to be one-sided. A limit will come when the army will give a flat reply, no more shooting. Because the army in Pakistan is a national army, not an occupation army. When they will see our own sons, our own brothers, and they have come there for deen, they are also Muslims. They were also fed by the breasts of Muslim women. So, a time will come, just as happened in Pakistan in 1977. In the anti-Bhutto movement, there were some killings, but finally, Brigadier Muhammad Ashraf Gondal in Lahore, he said, no more shooting. We are not going to shoot anymore. The message reached Bhutto, go and have a political settlement. We are not going to cooperate anymore with you. Another of the brigadiers, he also followed him. They were court-martialed, no doubt, but that's a different story. But the message reached Bhutto, who had said some days before, holding the arms of his chair on the television appearance, my chair is very strong. But it proved to be very weak. It was strong on the basis of the support of the army. When that support was moving from underneath his feet, he had no strength. And the same was the case in Iran. It was an unarmed revolt against the Shah. The Shah had to run for his life. Though Gazami bhi mil na saki kuwe yaar nahi, who couldn't find, a place to be buried in that kingdom, about whose, future he was seeing, that the ancient greatness and honor and glory of Iran will again be there in Iran, and I will be the Shahanshah. But what happened to him? Even this country, there was no welcome for him over here. This country was ready to receive him. And when he insisted, I am sick, I need treatment, I have to come. Okay, straight from the airplane to the hospital. And from hospital, dead or alive, straight outside. No welcome. What to speak of red carpet welcome? No welcome whatsoever. Although he was the representative of this country in that area. So this is the only way today. Peaceful agitation, disciplined agitation. But by those people who have established Islam on their bodies, in their families, on their ma'ash, and on their ma'ashrat, if the social life in their families, and if their economic life that is governed by the tenets of Islam, and they have established Islam on themselves, their bodies and their families, and then they come to sacrifice their lives, then the revolution will be a true Islamic revolution. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم ولسائر المسلمين والمسلمات.